Hi, I'm Rachel and welcome back to Auxhart Gardening. Today I'm showing you how to make your very own homemade Tabasco sauce from peppers that you grew in your garden. So Tabasco sauce consists of three main ingredients. First of all, you have your Tabasco pepper, the all-important ingredient, and then you have salt, and then you have vinegar, and that's all that it is. But Tabasco sauce is traditionally a fermented hot sauce, so this whole process is going to take you something on the order of like 6 or 7 weeks, depending on like how big of a batch you're making, and how much natural, oh, I almost dropped my pepper, how much natural yeasts are already on your peppers. So the first step is going to be to take all of your peppers and put them in some sort of blender or food processor and just process them together into a mash. If you've ever brewed beer before, it's gonna feel like a really similar process. So I've been told. I've never brewed my own beer, but I do hear people talk about the mash a lot when it comes to beer. So you're gonna make your mash out of your peppers. And as you're doing this, you're gonna wanna put those mashed peppers into a jar, preferably a glass jar, and preferably a jar that you have two of, because what's really important in this step is that you want to know how much mash you have so that you can figure out how much salt you need to add. So as you're going through, if you only have one jar, just make sure to weigh your jar first, tare your scale, and then put your peppers into that jar. I like to have multiple jars of the same size because I inevitably will always forget to weigh the jar first. And then it's a big hassle to scoop all the peppers out, weigh the jar, put the peppers back in. So just do yourself a favor, weigh your jar first. And so you'll want to add 3% salt by weight. So what I mean by that is if you had 100 grams of peppers, you would add 3 grams of salt. So you'll weigh out your peppers, you'll do the little bit of math, weigh out your salt, and then you will stir all of that together. And at this point, there should be some like juiciness to the mixture. It's gonna not look wet, like as if there's like a bunch of liquid in there, but it should be like mildly mashed and juicy looking. So at this point, if you picked your peppers fresh, all you have to do is cover it and wait for it to ferment. If you did like me and you froze your peppers because they were coming off of the plants at really differing times, and because I only have 2 plants, I don't have that many peppers to start with, so I really need like the whole harvest from both of those plants to make one batch of sauce. So as they were coming off of the plants, I froze them, but because I froze them, I killed off like all of the natural yeasts that would have been on those peppers. So what you can do if you've done that is to take a sourdough starter, and if you've ever had a sourdough starter and like left it too long without feeding it, it gets this like really dark liquid on the top, and that's what you want. Most people would like pour that off and then like refeed their sourdough starter, but that's actually just a good liquid full of the yeasts that you need to help the peppers ferment. So you can just like pour that right off the top, right into your jar with your peppers, mix it all up with the salt, and then you're good to go. So after a few days of this sitting on your counter, loosely covered, I might add, you don't want to give it a tight cover because this fermentation process will be releasing gases. So lightly covered, after a few days, you should start seeing some bubbles on the sides of your glass jar. And it should, over time, start to smell more and more like that fermenty smell. Just every few days, you'll want to give it a good stir. And check that after another day or two of sitting, it's still producing more bubbles for you. And you'll know when it's done when the color starts to darken. And in my experience, this is going to be around the 6-week mark. And if you're unsure whether or not you're seeing that color change, just go for about 6 weeks and you'll probably be all right. Hey guys, we're at our 4-week checkup. I just wanted to show you how things are looking. This is my ferment currently, and you'll notice that it doesn't have those characteristic bubbles that I had mentioned that it should have. And to address that, first of all, I want to say this is the first time that it hasn't given me the bubbles, and so I went looking for other advice. on this, and I ran across this really great website. They're called Ferment Works, and I'll link them below. And basically they have this catalog of questions that people have asked them with pictures. Oh, is my ferment okay? Is this bad mold or good mold? Like, what's going on? And so they have a backlog of them answering all those questions. But if you don't see whatever's going on for you on there, then you can send them your picture and your question, and they will get back to you for free because they're super nice people. I got an answer about, since mine doesn't have bubbles, is it okay, within like 24 hours or so. So it was very quick. I recommend checking them out, especially if you're fermenting a lot of other things. But basically, no bubbles is okay as long as it still smells okay. So it still smells like hot peppers and like a little fermenty. Nothing bad at all. It just kind of smells nice. So this is totally fine, and I'm going to be giving it 2 more weeks to be ready. You can already see the color is changing a little bit from that bright color that it was before. And we are almost done. You could be done about now if you wanted to, but the original recipe that I learned from, you wait 6 weeks. So I'm gonna go ahead and wait those 2 extra weeks, and I will see you right back here. Alright guys, we are finally at the 6-week mark, and our Tabasco sauce is ready to be finished off. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how to tell if it's done. Now, there's a pretty big window in which it might be done, and you can definitely let it go longer. But the most telltale thing is that it will be a bit of a darker color than it was when you started. And if you go about 6 weeks, you'll probably do all right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to separate out all of the big particles from the liquid sauce. And I'm going to do that using a food mill. Now I'm just going to run it through my food mill on the smallest grate setting. And after you run it through, you should have a nice clear Tabasco looking sauce. Now this sauce, remember, Tabasco sauce is just peppers, salt, and vinegar. And we had the peppers and the salt in our fermentation. So the next step is to add the vinegar. You can use just plain white vinegar. White wine vinegar is probably going to be a little tastier, a little more sophisticated. But if white vinegar is all you have, then you probably will do fine with that. Now, at this point, everything comes down to taste. You'll want to dilute your sauce with vinegar, and then take a toothpick, stick it in there, and taste your sauce. And keep tasting like this until it's about the spicy level that you want. So once you've got your sauce diluted to be how spicy you want it, then the last thing to do is to just bottle it up and store it. I recommend storing it in the fridge if you're planning on taking a while to go through it. If you're one of those people that is going to use it up within a month, it's probably fine at room temperature, but it can't hurt to store it in the fridge. And if you're one of those people who's not going to pick it up very often, you might notice when you go to pick it up that it has separated a little bit, and that is perfectly fine. Just shake it up. It's fine. It doesn't mean that it's gone bad or anything like that. Alrighty guys, and that is everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you make your own Tabasco sauce, please let me know in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.